All right, fantastic. I wanted to welcome everybody back. Yes, it is unmuted. I got it. I hit that. I got it down. You know what I'm saying? You know what I usually say, but I'm not doing it tonight because the minute I imprint that in my brain, I will never let it go. And this next gentleman understands a lot about that and how the brain works. And it's great because it's always good on this show with my co-hosts Sandy and Jeff to really bring out to the world people that normally you wouldn't have as much connection with, as in you don't get to hear them as much as you want to, as in maybe there's things you were thinking about as this is a new year. It's a new year. You might watch a show 20 years from now, it's still a new year. So no matter what that is and how that looks, it's really having that mindset. And I think what's happening, we had a whole discussion on a bunch of teams today about people are starting to lose that enthusiasm already. I mean, you haven't even gone to the gym twice yet. So let the year play out a little bit and don't let what's going on around you always affect what happens from this side. And that's why I'm really excited tonight. Mr. Joseph McClendon III, here, I'll do the little. One of my business partners has really for 30 years taken this man around the world on stages in more countries than I can tell you. And he has spoken in front of over 6 million people live. And I can't even tell you how many virtually. The thing about that is that's a lot of connection with a lot of people. And that's the time that you really say, okay, there are some masters on the planet who have been in front of a lot of people live. And this gentleman's one of them, especially on mindset. And as long as he's done this, and for being 21 years old, Joseph, I'm always stunned how well you've done this and how well you look. So without any further ado, and you can watch the show notes, and a lot of you know who he is. Let me give it up for Mr. Joseph McClendon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. By the way,
Joseph, I have to say, I saw that corgi walk in behind you.
I was just going to say that. I was
just
just
going
to say that. That is such a sign. I was just going to say that, Sandy, that my puppy came in as we started to talk. He doesn't come in here. He hangs outside. So he wants to be part of this as well. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Sandy, for being here as well. And hey, Jeff.
Hi,
You know what's
Joseph.
great about this, actually? So we had a corgi for 8 years, and now I like you more than I did before, because and we lost him a long time ago. It was about in 2008, but he was my buddy. Corgis like to herd, right? So he was always herding and watching everybody. He'd sit on the top of the stairs and make sure everybody's exactly where they need to be. But he was one of the most loving dogs I've ever had. And
corgis are the cutest puppies, hands down. They are the most adorable, goofy looking things. They just are the best.
Yeah, they are. They are. So with that being said, and now we're totally distracted, and we could actually do the whole show on corgis. So we want to get some corgi experts on there. All right. But, Joseph, we were talking about it I had several teams today talking about that people already are not showing up, that they're seeming to lose sort of the momentum. And can you talk a little bit about that and what you've seen? And then we're just going to have a discussion with all four of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If that is you, anybody out there listening, that the enthusiasm has started to fall off, I got you. And what I mean by that is that's par for the course. This time, about 85% of the people who set New Year's resolutions or those year's goals have dropped off in some way, have fallen off and started to not show up where they needed to show up, or go to the gym, or eat the way that they said they were going to do, or write that book, and all of those things. And there's a huge, huge reason why, and that is because New Year's resolutions don't work. Actually, goal settings don't work. You can set your goals, and that's great because it feels good in the moment. And we mean it, with the best of intention. We feel like, yes, I'm going to do it in that moment, but our brain takes over, and our brain is programmed to keep us happy and safe and out of danger. And doing something different is dangerous to us. So if we don't change our programming, then we're going to go back to it. And the quickest, I created something I call it the New Year's evolution. Evolve the process. And I'll tell you the biggest thing in that, and maybe we can all talk about this, because I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I'd love to hear where we are on that. And that is this, that most people, when they set a goal, that's great. It feels good in that moment, but they may even work out the plan that they need to do all of that stuff. But what they don't work out is when they're going to set that goal, or I'm sorry, to program themselves so that they revisit it because and
Mm,
when you revisit it, you get that enthusiasm back. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. We've all made like to-do lists, right? And at the end of the day, you didn't do any of it. But if you set it up to where you remind yourself during the day, you go, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, and the enthusiasm comes back. So you're able to really actually reprogram yourself and turn that dream or that goal into a vision. And a vision is what empowers us each time, so that we get up early, stay up late, and do all of that stuff. So that's really the kind of the crux of where it comes from, is there's actually process to condition yourself so that you revisit your dream, your goal, and your desire, and you get that enthusiasm back and remind yourself to go to the gym or do whatever those things are.
I
I
want to
found
jump
for
straight into
me,
that.
doing exactly what you said, it comes into handy to make it a game. If you
Mm.
gamify the system, it's so much easier to do that programming. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I love what actually Michael was talking about this when I was having a conversation just a couple of weeks ago around, creating a story around it, creating something that brings in the emotion to it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Joseph, I'd love to unpack, like, why does this work? Another thing I'll just throw in there too before I hand it back over to you. I got to meet you when we started the whole, thing with Malcolm Jamal Warner. And, it was such a blessing and a pleasure to be part of that journey in those early days of what we were doing there before he passed. And the statement that just stays with me, it just stays with me is the thief to your dreams are your bad habits. So I really want to unpack the goal setting principles, but attaching emotion to it and story to it. But also, what are the things that, I know that you're the expert in, with our 10 toxic traits, what are the things that stop us from actually accomplishing our goals?
There's you know me, there's 10 things, and I'll come back there for a second. I like to share with people, maybe shift, and our thinking are just the words that we say to ourselves and the images that we make to ourselves. So instead of looking at goal setting, instead of looking like, because we set a goal and we go, it's got to happen by this, and we got all that stuff going on. But the truth of the matter is that we need to do what I call intention setting, and
Mm,
programming our goals into us, so that you said it, Jeff, so that we bring emotion to it. Because without the emotion that we had when we set the goal, without that, then it's going to fade, because like I said, our brain is designed to keep us comfortable, and it's going to go back to what we're comfortable with, which is not doing the stuff that got us where we're going to go. And
right.
so I kind of look at it like this, as we look at it, you asked, what are the things that stop us? There's only 10 things. And I keep it very, very simple. And if whoever's listening, as I come across these, as I say them, whenever I say one of them, you go, "Oh, yeah, that's me," or "Yeah, I could make a change in that area," then, hey, you're not alone, but this is where it starts. And here we go. Procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, stress, overwhelm, and fear of rejection. As a matter of fact, if you didn't raise your hand on one of those, then you lie about other stuff as well, because the truth of the matter is we all have those. That's part of the human condition. They are conditioned into us.
Yeah.
When we were a baby, we didn't have any of that stuff. All of those 10 things we learned. So they got
So
conditioned into us, and we can
I want to
condition
jump
them
in
out.
here and just, I really want
Yeah,
to jump in here and just say thank you for your mentorship that I've been able to personally receive over the last 12 months. Like, I wrote my first book over New Year's, and I did
yeah,
it
I
in
remember
5
you
days.
saying, yeah,
I've been
yeah,
sitting on this for 3 years, but it was helping me get
exactly.
out of my own way and just get
Yeah.
into gear, and it's been such an amazing journey already, just accomplishing that task. And what I did was I took a lot of what you teach around the getting out of our own way and just get it done, but I also turn it into a declaration. It's like, right, I'm going to be an author this year, and I declare to the world that I'm actually going to do it. So I took it to a whole
Nice.
nother level about making it
Mhm.
a declaration. Can you just unpack why that works so effectively?
Well, it wasn't. If you go back, then thank you so much for acknowledging that. And the truth of the matter is, I always look at it like this. Yeah, I may be able to say some things, but it's you that did them. It's you that did them. It's not that you learned something, Jeff. And I say this
Mm,
to everybody, because we've learned a lot of stuff. We know, I jokingly say, people that want to lose weight, they don't lose weight not because they don't understand how to lose weight. Quit putting so much food in this hole right here and move your body, and you'll lose weight. It's physics. The truth of the matter is, we don't do what we know. And so what you did, Jeff, is you went through the process of taking your dream or your goal and turning it into what I call a vision. You just said it. You said, I declared. And a
Mm,
declaration is different than a goal or setting or saying I'm going to do something. And the process that I gave you, just to kind of go over the basics of it, is basically don't just say it, see it, hear it, feel it over and over again. And that's what turns your dream into a vision. And there's a difference. Dreams are temporary. Dreams, most of us don't even remember what the hell we dreamt about last night. Dreams are temporary. They've got, a modicum of excitement about them, but they go away. A vision is a dream that is in as much detail as possible, with emotional impact, and visited often. And so the process that I gave you, or I talked to you about, was don't just look at it once, get excited about it, and
mm.
then plan on when you're going to visit it again. So if you literally, I mean, there's a few components, but I probably think that the biggest one is get clear on what you want. We can all do that. Every goal setting workshop in the world says that. Get clear on what you want, get specific on what you want. But what they don't do is they don't schedule when you're going to get excited about it every day. If you do that just for 10 days, remind yourself to visit that and get excited about it again, then your brain starts to change. We were just talking about this earlier, Michael, our dear friend Jim Quick, who talks about, he's a brilliant, brilliant man. I've known him for many, many years. And what he talks about is something called neuroplasticity. And I'm going to go into the weeds for a second, if you guys don't mind. But it really is helpful for people to understand what goes on inside of our head. Plasticity just means it's malleable, it's changeable. And there's so much evidence these days of people that have, literally seen a person and work with people that have had traumatic brain injury, and their brain that part of their brain is not functioning right. Well, with the proper training and the proper conditioning, you can train another part of the brain to take over that part right there. So having said that, the way that the brain works is this, and this is why this whole conditioning process of turning a dream into a vision works. And that is this: our brain, and we got a lot of different components, right? You got your prefrontal cortex, you got all that stuff. Well, there's a certain part of our brain called our mid-cingulate cortex, and it's that part right in the middle of our brain, and it is responsible for making decisions and following through on those decisions. So when all that brain works together, and it goes, okay, here's what it is, here's what we're going to do. Well, our brain grows, not so much in size, but in density. And in density, what we call neural pathways. You can kind of look at them at nerve endings. And so the density of that part of the brain, what they've found is that people that are obese or procrastinate a lot, that part is smaller for all practical purposes. But people who are disciplined and get done what they're supposed to do, it's bigger. And so the great part about it is that the brain is like a muscle. The more you use it and you use it the right way, it's going to grow, and it grows quickly. And so the way that part of the brain grows is when you do something difficult anyway. And it doesn't have to just mean the thing that's at hand, but you do it anyway, then that part grows exponentially. So when you do it once, like for example, you go to the gym one time, and following going to the gym, you reward yourself and you praise yourself and you get excited about it, then the brain grows exponentially, and it goes, hey, where did that dopamine come from? Let's do it
Mm.
again. And then we start to crave that declaration that you did. Now, I'm going to ask you, Jeff, when you started doing it, was there a part of you that said, I don't want to stop. I want to get
Yep.
this done.
Yep. It became addictive. I had to
Yeah,
get it done. I had to finish the job.
exactly. And what happens if I was to dissect your brain right now, I'd see that your prefrontal mid-cingulate cortex would be dense, right? And it works across the board. It works across the board with everything. And the training process, remember, I always say it like this, is that intentions are great and they feel good in the moment, but they are like taking a warm bath. That if you don't continue to heat it up, it's going to get cold. You got to get out. Or it's like even a more, let's say, distasteful way. It's like peeing in the bed. It feels good in the moment. It's warm, but pretty soon you got to get up and do something about it. And so what you want to do, sorry about that.
It's so true, though. It's so true.
Uh,
Okay, I'm going to jump in on this because I had something come up that is, because Joseph, you get it all moving, you expand your brain, but there's a tendency because a lot of clients we've worked with and just people we've seen it, we all do it at times. There's the conflict avoiding. So I set the goals, or especially like in relationships, I set all these things up, but there's a natural part of me where I avoid conflict. And since I avoid conflict, if that feels like it's going to be any type of conflict, I'm heading another direction. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So there are a couple things in that. And first, remember what I said. Let's always kind of default back to when you do it anyway, that brain is going to grow and you're going to want to do it. However, there's even a quicker way. And we learn two ways: repetition and what we call significant emotional event. Repetition is obvious. You do something over and over again. I call it human physics. A human being does something over and over again, they're going to get better at it. That's the way that it works. But significant emotional event, we learn quicker, easier, faster, deeper, stronger, longer. And what that means is this: is when there's especially the more intense the emotion, good or bad, is attached to whatever that learning is, or that event, or that thing that you want to program into yourself, the deeper it goes. An example is when you were a baby, all of us stuck our hand in the fire or touched the hot iron or something like that, and it burned us. And that was a significant emotion in that time. Yes, pain is, it's still going to come into emotion. And so we learned like that for the rest of our lives never to do that. Now, we can utilize that by doing the same thing. You don't have to stick your hand in fire, but if you learn the skill of of giving yourself credit, praising yourself, giving yourself some sort of acknowledgement, giving it to yourself, then it works exactly the same way. So, like I said, when you do something anyway, at the end of it, like a lot of people, when they, like, we use the example of going to the gym, writing that book, or whatever it is, showing up for meetings and things like that. We do it, and what do we do at the end of it? We go, "Oh, that was terrible. That was awful. I hated that. I had to do this," and that's all we have. But instead, if we stop and we go, "Hey, I did it. I'm a badass. Oh my goodness," and give ourselves some sort of praise, then as soon as we do, then our brain is going to make our body release endorphin, dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine, feel good juices, and our brain is always going to go, "Hey, where did that come from? Oh, it's because I went to the gym. Oh, it's because I wrote this. Oh, it's because I did that." And so we start to condition ourselves to want to do those. That's why I asked you, Jeff. There was a part that you were craving it, right? And
Yeah.
then the closer you got to the end, then and what's happening in there is you're actually conditioning yourself to want to do it. On the flip side of it, you said, and by the way, I'm no saint. I went through all of this as well. My first book, don't even want to talk about it. It took me a year to write, and I had a deadline and all those things going. Um, but my point is that if we actively give ourselves the emotion that is necessary, which is some sort of pleasure, acknowledgement, some sort of praise or whatever silly stuff. I always say, shake your ass, pat yourself on the back, put a smile on your face. It's human mechanics. Our brain is going to learn because we're going to train it. And by the way, whatever your age is, anybody listening, it doesn't matter your age. If you're 50 years old, it took you 50 years to get where you are right now, but it's not going to take you 50 years to change it. And you can change it. So that's one part of it. Sorry, I'm getting a little excited about this because I love this stuff. There's the other element of it. There's two elements of it. One of them is the praise when we do something difficult, or we do anything difficult at all, or even mildly difficult. It trains the brain for other things. The other thing is something called a pattern interrupt. And that is when we are in a pattern of procrastination or whatever, anything negative, anything at all. That is a pattern. And when I say a pattern, we've done the same thing. Our brain is comfortable with doing it. We sit the same way. We say the same things to ourselves. We're in a pattern of this is what we're visualizing. Oh, if I go to the gym, or worse than that, I'm such a loser. I haven't done, I've never followed through. And that pattern of conversation that we're going on, if we allow it to keep going, it's going to be that downward spiral. And we're going to be over there, sitting on the couch eating cake, and watching Netflix or scrolling through our phone. And so if you interrupt that pattern while you're in it, four things happen. Actually, three things happen. The example I like to use is this, is that all of us have done this. You're sitting there on your couch or you're doing something and you think to yourself, oh, I got to go in the kitchen and get an ink pen or get a newspaper or something. And you stand up and you go in the kitchen and all of a sudden you're in the kitchen going, the hell did I come in here for? And what happened is, and this is a very useful thing, is that when you were sitting on the couch doing whatever you were doing, you were in a pattern of thinking, visualizing, imagination, whatever it was. And when you stand up and you abruptly interrupt that pattern, three things happen. Number one, you're no longer in that pattern. You're no longer, and your brain is going. The second thing that happens is you create what I call what's in psychology is called a scotoma. And a scotoma is a blank spot in your mind. That is why you can't. It's like, well, what do I do? But that blank spot, here's the beauty of it is that blank spot, that scotoma, is a vacuum. It's a mental vacuum. And nature always wants to fill a vacuum up. So in that moment, so suppose you're procrastinating and you stand up and shake yourself out. For a moment, even if sometimes just a few seconds, your brain is going, what? Does this work or whatever? You're no longer there. But then the brain is going, give me something. And then give it something. Praise. Go, oh yeah, this is why I want to do this. Writing this book is going to, all these benefits. I'm going to help other people. I'm going to change my life. It's going to change my finances. It's going to give, something I can leave for my children. All of those things start to come back and you become what I call optimistic. And optimistic doesn't just mean every cloud has a silver lining or every glass is half full. Optimistic means options. You see more options when you're in that state. And so those two things together, the praise, doing something at all, picking up that piece of paper or doing something simple and then praising yourself for it. It's global. It bleeds over to other things. And then when you're in it, if you catch yourself, just stand up and shake yourself out. And by the way, when you do it, then praise yourself for, hey, I did that. And your brain starts to do more of it.
Yeah, I feel like this also goes into the power of words and how your words can pretty much program your subconscious. So what you're saying is the positive things that you say, like, I did it, that's great, I'm such a badass. That all makes a difference because subconsciously you're programming your brain with those words. So if you go, wasn't that
Absolutely.
good? Or, oh, I feel so tired. You're telling your brain, I feel tired, and it's going to try to make that come true. Because
Good
our
point.
It
brains
does.
don't, they only see the possibility of what you say. They don't see that you might be making a joke or sarcasm or you're just saying something negative in the moment. So I think that's also part of it.
Yeah, Sandy, you're straight on. You're absolutely straight on with that because, that part of our mind. Remember, thinking is just saying and talking in our brain and the images that we make. And like you said, most people, the conversation that we have is not that favorable. And we beat ourselves up. We chastise ourselves in ways that if somebody else said that to us, you'd bitch slap them like they stole something from church. If you
And
wouldn't
I
let
think the
somebody
worst
else.
part about it is it's conditioned, it's programmed,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it doesn't even come from us. Because, like you said, when we're babies, we have no idea of what's going on.
yeah,
We're hearing. Like, I'm sure you've heard of how if a mother has a baby and a spider shows up and the mom's afraid of a spider and she goes, then the baby will go. But if the mom goes, oh, look, a spider, how cute, the baby will go, ah. Like, they mirror
yeah, yeah.
everything. It's the same thing.
Ironically, I had an absolute. It was the only phobia that I had in my life that I had to get rid of. Oh, my puppy came back. Is a fear of spiders, and the
Yeah,
reason
wow.
being. Yeah, my mom, when we were very little, my mom told us a story about how she got accidentally locked in a tool shed and there were spiders all over the place and they were crawling
Well,
on her. And that story, and that story made me and my sisters. I just had Christmas with them just a few days ago and we were all talking about it. Yeah, we all had that fear of spiders. Now, I
so I'm
still don't
afraid.
like spiders. Why God would make an animal or something with 8 eyes, 8 legs, and pulls rope out of its butt. I don't get it. It's
They're
like,
brilliant. Think about it. They get all of the mosquitoes. Spiders don't give you diseases like mosquitoes do. So that's their job. That's why they have the string on their butt to catch them, to make the little net.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I still don't like it. I agree
Yeah.
with
Have
you.
you ever
And
had a tarantula on your
as
hand?
long
They're
as
so
they,
gentle.
okay, so let me ask you a question. So, being that you love spiders and you live in Thailand, okay?
Yes.
So, have you ever walked into a spider web and it crossed across your face?
Yes, I have many
Okay,
times,
so
and not in Thailand. It's happened in Italy.
yeah, okay, so let me ask you a
Yuck.
question. Did you go like this? Did you go, "Oh, a spider web," or did you slap the crap out of yourself?
Actually, somewhere in between, I did this.
Yeah,
Spider web.
yeah.
And to be fair, the other day I was with my husband. We were napping on the sofa, and I felt something in my ear, and I said, "Is there an ant on me?" Because we have ants, because we're all organic, natural. So sometimes the ants come out of nowhere. And he looked. He goes, "Oh no, it's a spider. Let me get it." And he pulled it out of my ear, and I went, "Oh
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah,
no."
nah, nah.
Yeah,
Not doing
so
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
nah.
let me tell you how I would have reacted. Well, that's a spider. I'd have slapped myself unconscious, and then I'd have gotten up and set the house on fire just to get rid of it.
Dear. Well, here's one
To
for
be
you.
fair,
I'm
I
actually
was that
afraid.
kid that would touch every creature that lived. And my parents didn't know any better. When I was 13 years old, they took me to Costa Rica for our first like super family vacation. We went for 2 weeks. They took us into the rainforest of Costa Rica, where I collected every creature, including neon green spotted micro frogs,
Wow.
not knowing how lethal they were. And I was
Wow.
carrying them around. We have pictures of them. Look, Mama, look.
Wow.
Well, I love that part of it. I love all other animals. I'm naturey like that. And we were on here before. I love Thailand. And I, the same way, I used to collect other bugs and things like that. Yeah, and again, to your point, that was conditioned into me by a story that my mother
Well,
told, all the way back
it's
to
funny you
our
say
earlier
that.
point. You're absolutely right. And it was the words that she said, the story that she told,
Yeah.
those words became my words.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, Sandy. It's just like, where do these conversations that we have about ourselves come from? Maybe, and to me, you don't have to know where they came from, because a lot of people drive themselves crazy going, "Oh, this happened, this trauma happened in my life," and it could be a bunch of stuff. And the truth of the matter is, it is what it is. Let's do something about where we are right now. If you haven't figured it out what it is right by now, then you're probably not going to. And or if you figured out what it is, it's still time to do something about it at this stage right
To
now.
say everyone in the world, their parents screwed them up. But to live in that
Thanks,
drama
Mom.
and trauma is your choice. So if your parents screwed you up, which they did, it's your choice to stay stuck in it.
Very true.
That's
Well,
true.
I wanted to thank everybody for being on tonight. Now that I have to deal with my arachnophobia again, but we'll deal with that another episode,
Hey,
another
hey,
day.
I can help you, Michael.
Yeah, and as I don't like spiders, and then have to spend how much time I did in Australia, I'm like, and
Yeah,
they talk about the huntsman. I'm like, excuse me, that big thing
yeah,
I'm
no,
supposed to leave that thing alone? Yeah, no.
Yeah, Jeff, I
yeah,
wouldn't
And
yeah.
be
You
you
know,
right now
there's a
in
trick, right?
Australia.
We have to. There's a trick in Australia, right? Before you put your boots on, you got to turn them upside down, shake them
yeah,
all out. So,
yeah,
That's
they
a
taught me
Or
that in
guarantee
Sydney
that
too,
the
because those
spider comes
funnel
out.
spiders. Yeah.
or or move. Don't even
Yeah.
live
well,
there.
I am
And look,
exploring that. I am exploring that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of a huntsman spider, and in case you listeners don't know what a huntsman's, go look it up. It's as big as it's two hands together, and it's mean, and it'll eat anything.
Yep.
Is it poisonous?
It's not poison. It's not poisonous, but it looks like
No.
something off the Predator. It looks
Yeah,
like
But it
something
yeah.
out of
does
Look,
kill
another
the
planet.
poisonous spiders.
it kills everything. I saw one of them
Yeah.
running. It was on a video running across the floor with a rat in its teeth.
It's
Oh,
it's the
sounds
little
like
it's
that
the
was
little ones.
AI.
Yeah.
Say again?
It's
It's
the
the little ones
funnels.
you got to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I saw a huntsman once dragging a kangaroo. So, anyways, yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, well, want to thank everybody for listening today. This is about Unmuted. Is we have fun. We bring great guests. We have fun, and it's about bringing our family together. And those of us really wanted to have these experiences. So, on our next show, we're going to have an expert on spiders. We gotta find one. This is going to be great. We can have this like running going for years to come. Joseph, thank you so much for being on. It's great that everything that you are doing, I know you've got a lot launching, so we'll put it in the show notes. I love that you're really heavy on the health and wellness side, and really the body and the mind, and the app, and again, that will all be in the show notes, and we'll all be there when we get there. Any last things you'd like to say before we take this one and say goodnight?
Let's go around the horn with everybody. Say our last things, if you would. I'll start off by saying this: that life is always exactly what we dare to make it, and that daring meaning not just daring to do something dangerous, but daring to do something different with ourselves. And that means even as something as simple as making your bed up first thing in the morning, as something as simple as drinking, more glasses of water, and each and every time praise yourself. That is the thing that I always say to people. It's the little things that you dare to do that make the big things possible. So dare to make your life magnificent.
Thank you. Sandy.
Well, for me, it is get out of your own way and stop living what I like to call the comfortable death. The comfortable death is where you do things that feel comfortable and safe, even though it's making you miserable because it's slowly killing you. So get out of your own way and do something different.
Yeah,
Nice. Love
powerful.
it. Jeff.
Well, I was going to say get out of your own way, but what I will say is when you find your voice and you find just powerful mentors like Dr. Joseph McClendon, like Michael Silvers, like Sandy Grisby in your corner to support you every step of the way, that is one thing that'll help you get out of your own way. Right? Because
Nice.
they've all started somewhere. They've all embraced the suck. They've all figured it out. And the quickest shortcut to success is surround yourself with amazing people like this. And that's been true to my journey. And I'm very grateful and blessed to be the small fish amongst these big fish. And it's it's an amazing journey to be a part of. So absolutely loving every step of the ride.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. It's for me, it's a pleasure because I learn so much on these shows. We learn as much as we, as we give at the same time. Just be open and be receptive and make a difference for one person today. Go out and call somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Well, if you don't really like them, don't. But you know what I'm saying. But go out and do something for somebody else today because I think that's really what it's about every single day. So, for myself and the team here and my great co-hosts Sandy and Jeff and Joseph McClendon III, thank you so much. It's been a great show. Everything's in the show notes. Like us, share us, and if you don't, fantastic. If you do, fantastic. But just have a great day. Thank you so much from Unmuted. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.